Risk of Rain 2 is a great example of a game transcending its predecessor's dimensional boundaries. It's a fun early access title sporting roguelite elements, namely permadeath and a very addictive game loop, as well as a pretty solid item pool and an ever-expanding set of content to explore. This sequel to Risk of Rain, a 2D action platforming roguelite, drops you into an intense, ever-accelerating rush of killing monsters, acquiring cash, and stacking items to infinity and beyond. Just like the first game, in order to progress to the next level, you first need to find a teleporter, kill its boss or bosses, and then and only then can you move on. Completing that teleporter event drops an item, as does randomly receiving one from a chest or a wide variety of other ways in-game. Items typically grant special passives that stack infinitely, and in usually very perceivable ways. My favorite item, the ukulele, has a fixed 20% chance to electrocute some nearby enemies on hit. Stacking this item doesn't increase its damage, or even its chance to activate, but rather increases the number of targets that it jumps to, as well as the maximum distance between potential targets. There are items for healing, mobility, and even unique and super rare items with crazy passives, and yes, those items can stack too. Difficulty progresses at a constant rate. As time goes on, bosses can start spawning along with regular enemies, or enemies can suddenly appear with very powerful effects. The key to making progress in each run is pacing yourself and making sure you're increasing your own strength to meet the demands of the upcoming stages. Make no mistake, this game can get extremely hard extremely quickly without you realizing, but it is a really good challenge. Another component that I think really elevates this game is the multiplayer. Playing together with a friend opens up so many doors for strategy, mixing playstyles, managing item drops. It really is a lot of fun to play with a friend. There's also a wide array of characters and character types that you unlock via challenges and achievements. Some can be very difficult, but still doable, and others are just so easy that you unlock them by simply playing the game. Each character has a MOBA hero-esque set of fixed abilities, and they each feel pretty distinct. With a good mix of both ranged and melee type characters, I'm certain that anyone can find at least one or two characters that they really click with. One thing that I've enjoyed is that with a large item pool, each run's playstyle can feel unique even if I'm playing the same character across multiple runs. The core fundamentals are there, but I might approach enemies and situations differently depending on the items I'm running with. Visually, this game looks really good. It's extremely well lit, it's got great shading, amazing textures, and a really wonderful color palette. It has a consistent but pleasantly varied design that carries across enemies, environments, and even items. Nothing ever really feels out of place, and I feel good being able to focus on the combat when I'm busy, and then admire the art and design of the game when I'm just running around. Every area feels strongly distinct in its own right, and after you've played for a bit, you can instantly start recognizing where you're spawning and where some of the teleporter locations could be. This is really good news since the areas can be a bit sprawling, but they're definitely navigable once you start learning their landmarks. Character animations are pretty satisfying to see. As you increase things like movement and attack speed, everything else scales accordingly. Your character just looks right, even if you're moving at a million miles an hour. Enemy animations range from very complex to very simple, but generally attacks and abilities are well choreographed, making it easy to avoid projectiles and melee attacks in the middle of a battle. One final thing that I'll mention about the game's visual design is that as you amass items, you'll actually be able to see them attached to your character's body. There's even a character that can spawn turrets that inherit item abilities, and guess what? Those turrets have miniature versions of all your items on them as well. It's a nice little detail that isn't distracting, but it's very fun to look at and admire, even if only during a brief pause. The game is scored by the same composer of Risk of Rain, Chris Christodoulou, who's also scored Deadbolt, another game I've really enjoyed from Hapu Games. Similarly to Risk of Rain, you can expect epic, sweeping electric guitar solos and ever-escalating music. As the fights get more complex and difficult, more layers of sound and intensity are introduced. The music in this game really is epic, and it makes you feel like you're taking on this incredible challenge with each run. On a side note, I've also noticed that I really enjoy listening to heavy metal while I play this game. It just really fits for some reason. When it comes to sound effects, the game sounds tight and crisp. When I fire a weapon or use an ability, I get immediate feedback and no delays attached to any of my actions. Enemies are similarly well timed, and as you gain experience playing, you'll start learning the audio cues when a certain enemy is charging a sniper attack or getting ready to lob huge painful projectiles at you. Overall, I'm very impressed with what Hapu has done with this game, not simply bringing it into the third dimension, but all the work and polish that's been put into it so far, especially for an early access game. There's so much to do and explore in and out of runs: lore, achievements, challenges, Easter eggs, and even a regularly scheduled challenge with timed leaderboards. I'm really excited about where they're headed with this game. Recently, in December, they released the Lunar Update, which contained new and innovative areas, items, characters, and a new carry-through currency called Lunar Coins, which can be saved between runs. All in all, I would highly recommend you check out this game with some friends and challenge yourselves to go as far as you can.